Hi, welcome back to Mind Control, where we inspire and motivate you. Hope you enjoy the video.
The caliber of our life has everything to do with the caliber of the emotions we experience on a regular level. We are our emotions. And so the first thing I'd ask you to do is to start to use the power of choice in your life. Yes, you get to choose your life. You get to choose how you feel, not other people. There's these illusions in life. We really can't control anything other than our own thoughts, our own behavior, our own patterns. We can't control what other people do, say, or think. And it's this illusion of control, oftentimes, that we can somehow manipulate other people or manipulate situations that cause us to fall into these patterns. But what we do have the power of in life is we have the power to choose. And I say this to you because I'm somebody just like you. I struggle with the different patterns I have. Some of them serve me, some of them don't. I sometimes engage in thoughts that don't create the right emotions for me, that don't serve me. I know what it's like to be frustrated and angry and depressed and down and lost and fearful and worried. Worry's a big one for me. I love to fall into the pattern of worry. When certain circumstances begin to happen, it creates a trigger and a pattern in me. And man, do I love to worry.
That's a devastating disease, worry. Worry causes health problems, social problems, personal problems, family problems. It's devastating. Worry long enough, it'll drop you to your knees. Could reduce you to begging. My advice to you is do what I finally did on worry. Give it up. Who needs it? I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's worth it.
I've noticed this about worry. Worry is circular. Worry is going round and round. It's not being concerned about something. My mind just starts spinning. Now that's what it's like to toss and turn over stuff you can't control. Because after you've spent all night spinning, all day spinning in your head, and what if it starts with the most innocent thought, an innocent thought, and gets you to take it in the wrong direction. A scenario that on the surface doesn't seem that bad, but it's the way you spin it. I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not working on it. I'm not making progress anywhere. That now by the time that I'm facing my real life challenges, I don't have the equilibrium to apply the effort in the direction that would create a result, because I'm so dizzy, I can't find my balance, and now I don't know who to trust. I don't know what to do.
I've been able to overcome them by just being aware and choosing. And so the first thing is the power of choice. One of the emotions I challenge you to experience more of in life is bliss. You know, we are the calibration of maybe the 5 emotions we experience on a regular basis. And so if you're experiencing depression, frustration, worry, fear, anxiety, pain on a regular basis, you're gonna have one life. If you're experiencing bliss and fulfillment and ecstasy and joy in your life and contribution, recognition and significance, if you're experiencing love, you experience those emotions, you have a totally different life. We have the power to choose which emotions we want to experience. And so I love the emotion of bliss. I love the word bliss because of its definition. Its definition in Webster's is perfect happiness or joy. I love that. Webster's also says some of the synonyms for bliss are joy, pleasure, ecstasy, delight, happiness, euphoria, heaven, paradise, cloud 9, utopia, Eden. These are all synonyms for the word bliss. I like how all of those sound. Those are the noun versions in the dictionary of bliss. The verb, the action of being blissful, according to the dictionary, is to reach a state of perfect happiness, typically as to be oblivious to everything else. Wouldn't that be amazing, to be in perfect happiness and be oblivious to everything else? That's the verb or the action of being blissful. And the antonym, according to Webster's, to bliss is misery. And the last thing we want to be is feeling misery. But oftentimes, we don't choose to be blissful because we choose to be right. We choose to win. We choose to be significant. We choose to be in control. We make choices to try to experience other emotions. And by the way, all of these other emotions are typically outside of our control. Winning is outside of our control. Dominating is outside of our control. All of these things are something we can't control, and we choose them over bliss. But what if you just made a conscious decision right now? I choose bliss. And it's being aware of the other things you choose so that you can be conscious when you go to choose those things, you go for bliss instead. And by the way, not making a choice is a choice. A non-decision is a decision. If you don't choose consciously to begin to experience the emotions you want, okay, for me, bliss is very important. Joy is very important. Peace is very important. Contribution is very important. Connection is very important. What are the 5 emotions that if you could choose them, you'd experience on a regular basis? Just take an inventory of that. You don't have to be perfect. They may change. There may be 8. But what are 5 ones right now? Say them out loud to yourself. What are the 5 ones you'd want? Is it love? Is it ecstasy? Is it joy? Is it passion? Is it intensity? Is it focus? Is it peace? Is it faith? What are the emotions you would choose if you could choose 5 emotions? And when you just begin to become conscious of that choice, you've already moved ahead of 99.9% of the world who just responds and reacts and goes into pattern mode all the time. So just choosing gives you an advantage. And by the way, once again, not choosing is a choice. You've decided to go into your pattern. You've decided to let other people dictate to you your emotions. You've decided you have no control over your life by not choosing. So choose.
And decision making is powerful. And it's emotional. That's those knots in the pit of your stomach, right? Waking up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, trying to decide. We sometimes call it inner civil war.
Why do we have these patterns? You have patterns because they serve you. There's a payoff to every pattern. And by the way, you say, well, no, because, one of my patterns is I slip into worry and then I'm completely unhappy. How's that a payoff for me? It's a payoff for you because it's predictable. It's become your home. And so you don't have any pattern that doesn't give you a payoff. Well, no, because when things don't go my way, I become combative, I become argumentative. That's my pattern. Then I get in a disagreement in my relationship and then I say things I don't mean. How's there a payoff there for me? There's a payoff because it gets you what you want. Even though you don't know it, it gets you out of the conversation. It gets you maybe to avoid your own responsibility. It gives you the disconnect that somehow you're more comfortable with than dealing with the problem. But I promise you, every pattern you have, both healthy and unhealthy, you have them because there's a payoff for you. So the key to a happier life, the key to a more successful life, is to evaluate our patterns. And when we see them happening, begin to step outside of them and create new ones that serve us. And so what are some of the patterns you have, for example, that don't serve you? So for example, when a difficult situation arises, what is your pattern? What pattern mode do you go into? Do you become more resourceful, more focused, or do you become more fearful, worried, and you begin to make excuses? When you get into a disagreement with a loved one, what is your pattern typically? Do you become more combative? Do you listen less and talk more? Does the pattern do you begin to run this program that you run in such a way that it puts you in a state you don't want to be in? When adversity strikes, when someone puts you down, when there's a hater, what pattern mode do you typically kick into? Do you start to repeat other negative thoughts? Do you replay videos in your mind of other people who have also said negative things to you in the past? Or other thoughts you have about yourself that are loathsome, and you begin to stack these thoughts. Oftentimes, one person says something to us negative, and it creates this pattern we run, doesn't it? When we begin to think of another embarrassing moment, another person who saw something negative, we begin to create other negative thoughts about ourselves to stack it. And you say, how's there a payoff for me in that? Because it's what you're used to. It pays you off by reassuring you, you're right, you're a loser. You're right, you're not going to win. There's a payoff because guess what? Now you don't have to do the real work because you were never won anyway because you're this terribly unprepared person. So that's your payoff. And so you have these patterns, don't you? Now some people, their pattern kicks into winning. When someone puts them down, they start to buck up. They start to get resourceful. They start to feed themselves positive thoughts. They're aware of it that's there, and they begin to go into a hyper-productive, positive emotion mode. Yes, they do, believe it or not. When adversity strikes for some people, they go into a fearful mode. They begin to think about all the things that could go worse and worse and worse, and they depress themselves. And that pattern creates the very situations you fear. The same is true when we're successful. Sometimes some people, when they become successful, they go into a pattern when they begin to sabotage themselves and slow down and stop the behaviors that got them there. They begin to believe their own press clippings, that they've arrived. They don't have to do the work they used to do. Maybe they begin to fall into patterns where they get their relationships out of sorts, and that's their pattern. Life starts to go well in business. My pattern is every time life goes well in business, I start having issues in my personal life. And they sabotage the business success with their personal life. And that's a pattern they run. If it's happened more than once to you, it's not coincidental, it's a pattern. And so begin to evaluate these patterns you have that don't serve you, and simply begin to choose to create new patterns, more empowering patterns, patterns that give you the emotions and the results you want to have in your life.
Emotions are powerful. Sometimes it doesn't take much to alter your whole life direction.
We'd like to thank you so much for watching till the end. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Please also like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and families. Please watch our other motivational videos. Thank you again.
Give yourself a chance to become all you can become and to accomplish all you can accomplish. Let me give you a Bible philosophy that teaches how to get whatever you want. Here's what it says. Ask. That's it. Ask. Of all the important skills to learn in life, be sure to include the skill of asking. What does ask mean? Ask means, what do you want? And the complete formula is staggering. It says ask and you will receive. Hey, we ought to look into that. The man says, yes, but you work where I work. By the time you struggle home, it's late. You've got to get a bite to eat, watch a little TV, and get to bed. You can't sit up half the night and ask. And this guy is behind on his bills. He's a good worker, hard worker, sincere, but you've got to do better than work hard and be sincere all of your life. You'll wind up broke and embarrassed. You've got to be better than a good worker. You've got to be a good asker. Let me give you some key points on this asking and receiving, setting goals, asking of life. Here's part of the philosophy that helped me to change. First, asking starts the receiving process. Asking is like pushing a button, and all this machinery starts working, mental and emotional machinery. I don't even know how it works, but I do know it works. There are a lot of things you don't need to know how they work. Just work them. Some people are always studying the roots. Others are picking the fruit. It all depends on what end of it you want in on. So asking is the beginning of receiving. Second, receiving is not the problem. You don't have to work on receiving. It's automatic. So if receiving is not the problem, what is the problem? It's failing to ask. The man says, I see it now. I got up every day this year and hit it hard, but nowhere in my house is there a list of what I want from my life. Can you see? Good worker, poor asker. Third, receiving is like the ocean. There's plenty, especially in this country. It's like an ocean here. Here, success is not in short supply. It isn't rationed so that when you step up to the window, it's all gone. No. Well, if that's true, what is the problem? Well, the problem is some people go to the ocean with a teaspoon. Have you got the picture? A teaspoon. What I suggest you do in view of the size of the ocean is trade your teaspoon for at least a bucket, and you will look better at the ocean with a bucket. Kids won't make fun of you. Now, here's something else to remember about asking. There are two ways to ask. One is ask with intelligence. It didn't say ask intelligently, but I'm sure it meant that. Don't mumble. You won't get anything by mumbling. Be clear, be specific. Intelligent asking means how high, how long, how much, when, what size, what model, what color. Describe what you want. Define it. Remember, well-defined goals are like magnets. The better you define them, the stronger they pull. And give your goals purpose. Answer both questions. What do I want? That's the object. And the second question, what for? That's purpose. Purpose is stronger than object. What you want is powerful and it will pull, but what you want it for is more powerful. Here's the second way to ask. Ask with faith. Faith is the childish part. It means believe you can get what you want like a child, not an adult. Many adults are too skeptical. They've lost that wonderful childlike faith and trust. Don't let that happen to you. Believe in, have faith in yourself and your goals. And get excited like a child. Childlike enthusiasm. Nothing can beat it. Kids think they can do anything. How exciting. They hate to go to bed at night and can't wait to get up in the morning. Develop that kind of enthusiasm toward your life and your goals. And be curious like a child. Kids can ask 1,000 questions. Just when you think they're finished, they come up with 1,000 more. They'll drive you to the brink. But it's really a virtue. Have plenty of curiosity. Ask questions. That's how you learn.
So I got access. So I decided I'm going to go find a way to interview the 50 most influential, financial, brilliant minds on the face of the earth. Not people you read on the internet, not people on television screaming at you what to buy and telling you to go to some mythical mutual fund that gives you 12% every year and it doesn't exist, but the real guys and the real ladies that do it. But how are you going to do that? How? I'm going to call up to Tony Robbins. I'd kind of like to come interview you. You're worth $27 billion and I'd like your time. You have to engage people. So I'm going to show you some ways to do that. I'm going to tell you, when you can engage people, there is no limit to the resources you can access. If you want real wealth, wealth is access to resources. You don't have to own them all, just access to them all. You can do whatever you want, go wherever you want to go. That's real wealth. And you can do it if you can engage people. And engaging people is finding a way to meet their needs, not yours. If you meet their needs, your needs can be met as well. And it can be done in a way that has integrity and love and vision and creativity, and it can truly be a synergy. Now, I'll give you some examples of it just for 2 seconds, then we're going to do some things that engage this so you get the sense of its value. One of the first people I called on was Carl Icahn. Carl Icahn is a very gentle soul. He's a man who has a hard time expressing his true feelings about things. Who knows who Carl Icahn is? So you go to his answer. He's worth $27 billion. He has made more money. In fact, on the cover of Time magazine, they called him the master of the universe because Kiplinger did a little study and found out Warren Buffett is not the most profitable person you could have invested with. Carl Icahn is. In the last 14 years, you would have made 1,600% with Carl Icahn. 75% overall in the S&P with the ups and downs, right? Net, I'm talking about after inflation. If you had invested with him in 1968 in his company, you'd have an average return of 31% for all these decades, doubling your money every 2.6 years. If you're with Warren Buffett, you get a mere 20%. This is an amazing guy. He agrees to the interview. I use every tool I got. I get there, and the first thing he does is he throws out my camera crew. Nope, I don't want this camera crew. I don't want this. I don't want the lights. I don't want this. Like, well, dude, you agreed. I don't care. I changed my mind. Get him the hell out of here. I'm master of the freaking universe. Don't you understand? Says, okay, no problem. Let's do the audio. My audio team goes, no audio. I said, what am I supposed to do? He goes, you got a pen? Come on, you got 10 minutes. 10 minutes? All my interviews are supposed to be 45 minutes. The average one went 3 hours. How? Engagement. I figured out how to engage these people, and I found something inside of them that really wanted to give. Not to me. They got what the mission was to other people. And I got them telling me things nobody tells them.
And every decision, that action, does it move me closer to being that man? Does it move you closer to being that woman? That's the barometer of how you think. That's the barometer of how you live your life. Does it move you closer to being that person you knew at some point you were capable of being? They knew you were capable. And if they weren't there, I promise you, God in heaven knows who you're capable of being. You were put here to do something great with your life. You were put here to win, man. You were put here to help other people, to contribute in little ways and big ways. You may not be world famous, worth $100 million, but there's a destiny you're supposed to fulfill. There's people you're supposed to help. There's a difference you're supposed to make. Your life, your way, special to you. Not mine, not jets, not houses, not cars. Your precious life, your beautiful life, your soul, your gifts, your difference. What if your destiny is to be that person I just described in someone else's life? You be the person who sees how great people are. You be the difference. You be the person who sees the difference. I want you to win. Winning is not hundreds of millions of dollars, but you should go get. Winning is that when you meet that woman, meet that man, your identity. That's the great life. So you got to look at your life. The chapters are going by, aren't they? I don't know what chapter you're in, if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, but I can tell you the pages are turning in your life. Someone's keeping an inventory of your life. There's a movie being kept of your life. And let me tell you something. You ever go to the end of a movie? At the end of the movie, they put the leading characters on the screen, don't they? And then if you stay there long enough, you listen there long enough, they start running through the extras. Cab driver number 2, bouncer at the bar number 3. They don't even get names, do they? You know what I'm talking about, yes or no? You live your life for the main characters, not the extras. It's the extras of life who steal our destiny from us. words. It's their criticisms, their thoughts that they put in us. That negative voice you have is not yours. Someone put it there when you were little, probably. Live your life for the main characters of your life. The extras don't matter. The main characters are you and the close circle of people who love you. When David died yesterday, the text I've got on my phone is his wife and his 2 children were there with him when he passed. Those are the main character of his life. Those are the story of his life. And I'm part of the destiny of his life that he saved my life. I'm real sure where he's going, and I'm real sure when he gets there that he became the man he was born to be, because I know what he did in my life. And if he just did it just for me, he accomplished who he was here to be. So you have to accomplish who you're here to be. That's what I call maxing out your life. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, I went long. I got emotional. I think you could probably feel that I mean this stuff. When I say I love you and I believe in you, I mean that as a brother. I do. I want you to win. I want you to give it your best. I want you to bend time. I want you to use your RAS. I want you to repurpose your mess. I want you to do all of it. I want you to work on your thermostat, right? I want you to be blissfully dissatisfied. I want you to do all of it. Anyway.
Look at a man the way that he is, he only becomes worse. But look at him as if he were what he could be, then he becomes what he should be. And one of the things that I can just tell you as you think about your goals and dreams, all of us can say that it's possible. That if anybody at any point in time lived their dream, then it's possible that I can live mine. I made a mistake. I looked at my goals and dreams and my mind said, how will you do that? I went from my heart to my mind and I stayed up there for 14 years. I can't bring those 14 years back. Those years are gone. Stop putting it off and procrastinating. How many ever thought about something you wanted to do and you procrastinated, you talked yourself out of it? There's a proverb that says, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm.
This thing about your imagination is actually real. Albert Einstein took the second half of my mother's favorite scripture. My mother's favorite scripture is, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. It just means, really, that the pure essence of faith, it ain't nothing but hope. That's why you hear people keep hope alive. Because if you keep hope alive, there's a chance it can resonate in the faith. You remember when you was little and you was hoping you got a bike for Christmas? And you went downstairs and it was a bike under the Christmas tree? Remember that time you hoped you graduated from high school? Then remember you hoped you got a job? Ain't all y'all working? At one point in time, you're going to have to get smart now, people. After you become an adult, it shouldn't be hope no more. This ought to start turning into some faith. What's the matter with calling it faith? Quit hoping, man. Turn it into faith. Faith is the belief in things that you cannot see. You got to ask God for something. Ask for something from God. You don't know how in the world you're going to get it.
The way you do it is by what you speak. When you verbalize that thought, you're giving it the right to come to pass. If you go around saying, the problem's too big, I'll never get well, you are agreeing with the wrong voice. You've got to get in agreement with God. The other voice may seem louder, but you can override it. You can take away all of its power by choosing the voice of faith. Maybe you're going to a job interview. One voice will tell you, you're not going to get it. You're wasting your time. These people are not going to like you. Another voice will say, you have the favor of God. You're blessed. You're confident. You have what it takes. But if you get up that morning, tell your spouse, I don't think I'm going to get this job. They're not going to like me. I'm not qualified. There's no use even going. You're being trapped by your words. You have to dig your heels in and say, I am not giving life to any more defeat. I am not speaking lack. I'm not speaking sickness. I'm not speaking mediocrity, not enough. I'm going to choose the voice of faith. It says I'm strong, I'm healthy, I'm blessed, I'm favored. I am a victor, not a victim. This is what David did. When he faced Goliath, it looked impossible. All the odds were against him. If he would have verbalized his negative thoughts, that would have kept him from his destiny. Even though he was anointed to be king, those negative words would have kept him trapped in the shepherd's fields. He could have easily gone around saying, well, I know I'm supposed to face Goliath, but look at him. He's twice my size. He's got more experience, more equipment, more talent. I don't see how this is ever going to work out. You can talk yourself out of your destiny. Negative words can keep you from becoming who you were created to be. Don't fall into that trap. Quit calling in defeat. Quit talking about how it's not going to happen. You can pray in faith. Ask God to turn it around, to do the impossible, but then walk away and start talking about how you're not going to get well, how your child's never going to straighten up. Those negative words just canceled out that prayer. Well, Joel, I'm having this financial crisis. Prayed and asked God to help me, but I don't see how it's going to happen. No, zip that up. Father, you said you're Jehovah Jireh, the Lord my provider. Lord, you've done it for me in the past. I know you'll do it for me again in the future. Don't let your words trip you. Negative talk brings negative results. But when you speak faith, favor, victory, that's what allows God to do the impossible. David went out, stood before Goliath. He looked him in the eyes, said, you come against me with a sword and a shield, but I come against you in the name of the Lord God of Israel. This day I will defeat you and feed your head to the birds of the air. Notice he was prophesying victory. He may have felt fear, but he spoke faith. I can hear David as he's going out to face Goliath under his breath. I am well able. I am anointed. I am equipped. If God be for me, who dare be against me? Picked up that rock, put it in a slingshot, slung it. That rock brought Goliath tumbling down. When you face giants in life, when you face challenges, you have to do like David, prophesy your future. Say to that cancer, cancer, you are no match for me. I will defeat you. This addiction may be in my family for years, but this is a new day. The buck stops with me. I'm the difference maker. I am free. My child may have been off course for a long time, but I know it's only temporary. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Prophesy victory over your life. There was a man in the scripture named Zerubbabel. He faced a huge mountain, a big obstacle. But like David, he didn't talk about how impossible it was, how it was never going to work out. He said, who are you, O great mountain, that would stand before me? You shall become a mere molehill. He was prophesying his future. The mountain looked big, but he declared it would be flattened out. It would become a molehill. There's the principle. Don't talk about the mountain, talk to the mountain. Look at that mountain of debt. Tell it, you can't defeat me. You're coming down. I will lend and not borrow. My cup will run over. Whatever mountains you face in life, no matter how big they look, don't shrink back in fear. Don't be intimidated. Rise up in faith. Tell that mountain, you're coming down. Tell that sickness, you're temporary. Say to that loneliness, that addiction, that legal problem, who are you, O great mountain, to stand before me? In other words, don't you know who I am, a child of the Most High God? Haven't you read my birth certificate? My Father created the universe. He breathed life into me, crowned me with His favor, called me more than a conqueror. That means you can't defeat me. You can't hold me back. Mountain, you've got to come down. I will overcome this illness. I will break this addiction. I will pay my house off. I will see my family restored. I will accomplish my dreams. What am I saying? Prophesy victory. Prophesy breakthroughs. Prophesy what you're believing for. In the Old Testament, Ezekiel saw a vision. He had this dream of this valley filled with bones. Everywhere he looked, it's like a huge graveyard, acres and acres of bones, people that have died. Bones represent things in our life that look dead, situations that seem impossible, like they'll never change. God told him to do something interesting. He said, Ezekiel, prophesy to these dead bones. Say to them, O you dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. Ezekiel, in this vision, he started speaking to the bones, telling them to come back to life. He called forth skin, muscle, tissue. As he was talking, these bones started coming together. Just like out of a movie, morphing back into a person. Finally, God told him to prophesy to the breath and call it forth. The scripture says, as he prophesied, breath came into those bodies and they stood up like a vast army. You may have things in your life that seem dead. Your health, business, a relationship. All you can see, so to speak, is that valley of dry bones. God is saying to you what He said to Ezekiel. It's not enough to just pray about it. You need to speak to it. Prophesy to those dead bones. Call in health. Call in abundance. Call in restoration. That child that's been off course, don't just pray about it, prophesy to him. Son, daughter, come back in. You will fulfill your destiny. You're struggling with an addiction, don't just pray about it, prophesy. I am free. Chains are broken off of me. This is a new day of victory. Get your checkbook out, prophesy to it. All it looks like are dead bones. Debt, lack, struggle. I prophesy to these dead bones. I will lend and not borrow. I am the head and not the tail. I am coming into overflow. Just like with Ezekiel, if you'll prophesy to the bones, God will resurrect what looked dead. He'll make things happen that you could never make happen. Psalm 2 says, I will declare a decree. A decree was something that was written down, like an official document. The psalmist was saying, there's something that's been written that I'm going to start speaking. You and I can do the same thing, declare a decree. You should write down your goals. Write down what you want to see happen in life. Any areas that you're struggling in, where you need to improve, write it down like it's already done. And then every day, declare that decree. Read over it a couple of times out loud.
I want you to imagine you're at the end of the road. And you know you're at the end of the road. Just imagine, all you can do is relive your life. I want you to imagine you're there And you go back and think, God, I wonder if we had moved there, what would have happened? And think, God, if I could only do it over again. I said, wouldn't that be terrible? Spend the last days of your life like that? Wouldn't it be better if you look back and say, wow, what a trip. When you lose it big enough, it can be accelerated. And then we did this. And what you're doing is laying there and you're reliving your whole life. Well, there's where the goals come in. That's where the purpose for life comes in. You gotta have a main purpose. You gotta have a purpose for life. And you've gotta have meaningful goals. They've gotta be meaningful. You're trading your life for it.
In immersive experiences. So a lot of us today, we live in this world which is like 10 minutes a day. Do it for 10 minutes a day, everything will be great. And that is great. There's nothing wrong with that. And meditation, mindfulness, all these habits are the same. The more you immerse yourself, the more you get an experience that stays with you, the more that you can live with that experience and keep going back to it for 10 minutes a day. So I really believe in immersive experiences. I love the 10-minute-a-day advice, but I also deeply believe in having a deep, immersive, absorbed experience that completely takes over your whole body, mind, and soul.
Biggest one I would say is never pick the easy road. Never. Never. And it always goes back to kind of the hero mentality. Never pick the easy road. Ever in your life. That is the one road that is doomed. It is doomed. You may achieve what you wanted, but you want the permanent fix. The permanent fix comes from the hard road. The hard road gives you permanent. The easy road gives you the quick fix. You will go back to where you started on the easy route. That hard route is so permanent that it ends up callousing you everywhere. Everywhere.
Have you come here to avoid life or to experience life? Experience life. All the different dimensions of what this life holds must happen to you, isn't it so? If you come to avoid life, if you feel insecure, that's what you will do. You will try to avoid life. When you're alive and try to avoid life, it will cause immense misery. When you're alive, you live. When you die, you die. Don't get up from the dead.
Visualization is a gift to your heart and your soul. It's a gift. Because if the idea is the seed, visualization is the fertilizer. It's the fertilizer. Because when your thoughts are connected with an emotion, see, you visualize yourself winning, and you would feel all the emotion that came with that. And all you're doing now is you're not chasing a foreign emotion. You know the feeling, and now you're just doing what's necessary to get back to that feeling in real time. And it's real important that in the visualization, you can't see it over there. You have to see it right here. You got to feel it right here, like I am. It's all I am. I am. I am in my dream home. I am in my dream relationship. And then unpack what that looks like. But most importantly, unpack what it feels like. And when you have that emotion in this moment, all of a sudden you stir up something that I don't think will ever go back to sleep. It'll go, okay, let's go get that.
I have a philosophy that every moment, every precious nanosecond and moment is perfect. And so when I connect to the perfection of that moment, there's really nothing to do. It's to be aware and to allow, to surrender, but not to give up surrender, but to understand that, as we're talking right now, the oceans don't need any instruction what to do. The planets that are moving in their elliptical orbits around the sun don't need yours or my intervention. The universe, the Milky Way galaxy that's flowing through the universe at 1.5 million miles per hour doesn't need yours and my instruction. So that means that every moment is perfect. So I want to connect to the perfection of every single moment. Be aware of that every single moment.
So life is… There has never been a point, any time, there never will be, where everything is perfect. No such thing. Because life is a possibility. Because it's a possibility, it cannot be perfect. It doesn't matter what we do, there's still something more to do.
And the power of that, you can't overstate the power of that for individuals to get their life together. The individual is an unbelievably powerful force, and every single person who gets their act together a little bit has the capacity to spread that around. It's a chain reaction. And so it's a lovely thing to see.
Is that it's a mix of pain and pleasure. And that's what makes it so powerful. The idea of our mortality is obviously very painful, right? It could be more painful. But the idea of transforming that into something beautiful, into something enlightening, into something that kind of fills us with a much different spirit, which motivates us to get something done, which makes us appreciate what we can look at. We're alive and the sky is blue, and and all that. So mortality has this ability to sharpen our senses, to sharpen our appreciation of life, and that turns that pain into pleasure. But the pain and pleasure always go together. So underneath that kind of ecstatic feeling that you feel when you're aware that there's eternal time and that there are all these insanely wonderful things around the world, there's always going to be mixed with that tincture of pain about how I'm going to be gone and I won't be here to appreciate it. But that mix of the two emotions is what makes it so powerful and so insanely addictive, right? Because pure pleasure on its own can almost get monotonous.
The things that break your heart, if you choose, can open your heart. Fear, the world says fear is bad. Fear is only an opportunity for bravery training. We do make excuses because we are very good at self-deception. Because if we actually had to face the responsibility of playing with our bigness in the world, we'd have to let go of our addiction to our excuses and leave what's safe. And we'd have to actually leave the pain to go out to the possibility of pleasure and joy and greatness. And believe it or not, that frightens us.